Hey, it's me, WWE Hall of Famer from the LOD, Road Warrior Animal. And who are you?
Welcome to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast out of Indie Music TV in Ronkonkoma, Long Island. At the board is our super producer, Matt. How are you?
Good as always.
It's good to see you, my friend. And to the right is the star show, Mr. Jimmy Pharaoh. Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
What's going on? Back again.
How was your weekend?
I don't remember. You know I don't remember.
How was your
anything
Monday with Kevin Sullivan?
That was very cool. Kevin Sullivan rocks.
Yeah?
We met the devil.
Did he meet your expectations?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
Yeah. We had met him previously,
your-
briefly. He was cool then. Cool.
Most popular story that he told?
I just liked his opinion on wrestling in general. He just seemed to reflect how we feel about a lot of stuff. So experienced, man. I was just amazed at he did so many things in this business. It wasn't just that he was a wrestling legend. It was the booking. It was just everything.
I think he left more of a mark as a booker, to be honest with you.
He might have.
Yeah?
He might have. High impact. Great guest.
Yesterday, on a sad note, we lost icon Road Warrior Animal. Look, we're not in the biz, right? We're fans.
Yeah, we are.
And, we just happen to have a very popular variety show.
Okay, I agree with that.
But I got to tell you, we've met a lot of different people, and we've become friends with a lot of wrestlers, personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I started thinking about, how this had maybe affected their lives, right? Because, God, it's amazing this extended wrestling family that goes on, right? That it's not just, wife, kids, grandparents, you have this giant list of friends now, and when they pass, it's got to be terrible.
The other morning, now, oddly enough, nowadays you usually don't have the need to call me because there's not too much, craziness going on nowadays. But when you called the other morning, I was like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And then you broke the news to me that Animal had passed, and you told me you had spoke to Andrew Anderson. And this is rare for me to do, but I was like, you know what? Let me give Andrew a buzz, see if he's all right.
Good.
The man built the size of a mountain was destroyed.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to hear him that way. So yeah, Andrew was friends with him, and not like some people who say, "Hey, I'm friends with this guy," whatever. Andrew was friends with him, so
And
it's really hard, Plus, he was on our show.
Animal and his wife.
We got to meet him.
Their anniversary too, and unfortunately, this happened.
His birthday too.
Yeah.
He just turned 60.
Speaking of birthdays, a good friend of the show, Rick Allen. Happy birthday, Rick.
Very good.
Being out there.
You know what was cool when he was on the show? Was it the next day? Were we at the big event? Did we have something at the big event?
Well,
Help me out
yeah,
here.
So at the big event, a quick story before we get to our special guest.
I'm trying to remember
By the way, Bill Apter will be live with us on air. We are very, very excited for this. But a real quick story about Animal, and I'll let Pharaoh take it from here. But last year, Animal was on our broadcast, and he was a wonderful gentleman, very kind, very nice gentleman.
Yep.
Again, with wrestling, you never know when people say, "Hey, this is the best show interview I ever had. This is the best show I ever had." Whatever. Maybe they're just, who knows. We were at the big event the next day. And that's when you told me Animal came looking for you at the big event, which was nice, right?
What was cool about it was and the place is mobbed. You know how the big event can be. There's 1 million people there. All of a sudden, I felt this big bear claw on my shoulder, and pro wrestler hands, by the way,
Right.
Legendary pro wrestling hands. You ever look at them? It's just this big bear claws on my shoulder, and I turn around. And wearing the makeup, because when he was on the show, he didn't have the makeup on.
Right.
Wearing the makeup is Animal. He turns out, he's like, Pharaoh, I had a blast last night. It was a great interview. I really enjoyed myself. You guys are great. I'd love to come back again. Man, I wish I had worn the makeup.
Yeah.
He said, man, I wish I had worn the makeup. And you know what I told him? I was like, I'm glad you didn't. Because you probably don't, do that too often. You probably usually have the makeup on. So I was glad that we got, the man without the makeup. I thought it was cool. It was great to see with the makeup, of course, the next day. But, man, what a genuine person he was.
All I can say, Jimmy, is that I feel blessed.
I'm shocked.
I feel blessed that we have this opportunity to meet people that we either grew up watching out the next day to say, hey, how great the show was. So prayers, and I'm lost for words. I'd like to thank the band that sings the theme song for Monte the Pharaoh. That would be our own Jimmy Farrell, along with his partner Bart Griggs. They make up the band Wisteria Hall. Wisteria Hall songs could be heard on Spotify, iTunes, and Reverb Nation. The name of the theme song is Riding High. They also have other songs out there, In My Dreams, This Life. I got to tell you, download This Life. Incredible song.
Animal was one of the guys who complimented the music.
Yes.
When they sit there, they hear the the music play.
That's right.
Like, this rocks. What is this?
Not far behind, and Here Comes the Rain. Monte the Pharaoh can be seen on YouTube, the Monte the Pharaoh page, Facebook Live, Monte the Pharaoh page, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Twitch TV, Monte the Pharaoh page, RTF Sports Network every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. We are their anchor show, and the repeat is Monday from 10 a.m. to 11. And on Channel 115 in New York every Tuesday from 8:30 to 9 p.m., which will be changing shortly till 7 p.m. And then also catch us on Channel 115 on Saturday mornings at 6 a.m. And for early risers, like Friday morning, like a few hours from now, catch us on Channel 20. We will be right back with our guest, the icon, Mr. Bill Apter, after this commercial break. You need a body shop? You need engine repair? Auto Excellence, Collision Specialists, 631-261-6420. That's 631-261-6420. Auto Excellence.
That's right, folks. Canine Corral for all your dog daycare and overnight care. Call 631-549-1544. That's 631-549-1544. And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte the Pharaoh, seen every Thursday, produced out of Indie Music TV in Ronkonkoma, New York. Mr. Bill Apter, thank you for joining Monte the Pharaoh. How are you, sir?
It is my extreme pleasure to be here, and you called me an icon, and I really appreciate that. I'm very flattered. But all my years shooting pictures of the matches, it was a Nikon, not an icon.
How did I know you were going to correct me on that?
You know that, but no, I'm thrilled to be even on the waves here back on Long Island, because I'm born in the Bronx, grew up in Maspeth, Queens, got married, moved out to Long Island, Massapequa Park, and also the offices that I worked for when I was back at London Publishing, the producers of PWI and The Wrestler and Inside Wrestling. We were in Freeport and eventually in Rockville Center. I'm a Long Islander too, yeah.
Got lots of memories of the Comac Arena, I hope?
No, actually the Nassau Coliseum. Island Garden a little bit when I was a kid, but when I was growing up, my home arena was Sunnyside Garden on Queens Boulevard.
Okay.
I lived in Queens back then, so I was at Comac a couple of times, but not a lot.
The Comac Arena is where I used to go to when I first started getting into wrestling. You know, it was a cheap man's venue, right?
Yeah, but it was a great place. It was if you come from New York, you know about Comac and the Comac Arena.
Well,
And the promoter, if I remember correctly, was a guy named Whitey Carlson and Willie Gilzenberg. They were the co-promoters there. Yeah,
well, that's
if I
crazy.
remember correctly.
That
I
building
wanted to
was
thank you,
freezing.
by the way. It was. It was. I wanted to thank you for you were talking about Animal,
Yeah.
Joe Laurinaitis. And it's funny because I've mentioned this recently to a lot of people. I shot this photo that's on this sweatshirt along with Craig Peters. We did some horror lighting, etc. And the Road Warriors asked permission to make this into a sweatshirt. And I've had this sweatshirt here for a long time, and I wanted to pay homage tonight to both of them. Um, it's really funny because as much as I knew Joe, and I knew him from the day that Ole Anderson put him in a biker outfit, called him Animal, and I never called him Joe. Even when I saw him personally, we'd go out to dinner and do things, photo sessions, interviews. He was always Animal to me, and Mike was always Hawk to me. I always call them by their character names, but with the loss of him, it was so shocking. I got a call at about 6:45 in the morning Eastern time from Sal Corrente. He's the guy who invented Wrestle Reunion. He was known as the Big Cheese, and he's still around the business. And he said Joe died. And I said, Joe who? And he said, Animal. I was like, the whole day yesterday, during the day I worked for a nonprofit company, beside doing the wrestling full time. I help people with disabilities to find jobs. I couldn't go out and do anything yesterday. My body and my mind were obliterated by that news. I had just sent a video to his lovely wife, Kim, for his 60th birthday. She was kind of getting videos from everybody, and she included me on that. And she said he loved it because what I did, I said, who's this video for? Oh, Joe, the guy with the makeup? Oh, the demolition guy, right? She said he roared at that. He thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. And he celebrated that, and then I wished them happy anniversary on their Facebook page. And then that next morning, the call from Sal, and my phone just blew up the whole day. And I'm still pretty much in a state of shock over this whole thing because sometimes you expect these things, but this makes the year 2020 suck even more.
Agreed.
Bill,
and I rarely use that word.
You have this extended family, and again, I know we're joking around, but you're joking around. You are an icon. You're talking to two lifelong fans.
Oh yeah.
And you made a difference in our lives. And when you
yeah.
make a difference in one person's life like you have, you're an icon. But I reach out to you and I ask you this question. With this extended family of yours, what we were talking about earlier, how hard is it to deal with this constant turmoil and pain? It's, you have enough with your own family and your close friends, but now you have this extended family with even closer friends. How does a man like Bill Apter handle this?
It's never easy. A lot of fans, a lot of people look to me for the confirmation of people dying, and I hate to be that guy, but I feel like it's something I'm supposed to do because there are so many thousands of sites on the internet that report rumors that so and so died, but unless I can confirm it with someone in the family or someone like Sal Corrente, I won't do that. So it's never, ever easy. The recent deaths of my best friend in the business, Mr. Wrestling Number 2, you can see his mask right above me next to that belt that some fan made for me out of Legos. Death of Bruno Sammartino, Pedro Morales, all these people whose careers I, along with the rest of the team at the magazines, chronicled and brought it to you pre-internet. It's very, very, very difficult. It's very hard to deal with. It's losing family.
Yeah, I'm lost for words. All I know is when I go to work pretty early in the morning, and I heard pretty early in the morning. And I have a few friends that are very close to Animal, and I didn't know if they were awake yet. And all I could think to myself was, do I call them and tell them, or are they going to wake up and open up Facebook and find out? And I didn't even know how to approach it.
But you know what? You know what? In the meantime, the other side of that is the great stuff that he brought to all of us, that he and Hawk did. They were the best kick-ass team. I used to think that the Andersons, Ole and Gene, were the toughest team in wrestling till I saw the Road Warriors. And I saw one of their first matches before the makeup, and they were kicking the crap out of who was it? David Sammartino and Roberto Soto, I think it was. And I was shooting right this close, and I was going like, these guys aren't pulling anything. And little by little, the way I became friends with them and Precious Paul Ellering, and then the photo shoots that Craig Peters and I would do, and the interviews on the Crockett shows and World Championship Wrestling, where we just had fun improving with each other. They brought a whole new, like ECW changed the business forever, they changed the business forever. And it was great. They were guys. So I want to look at the happy side of, had we not had him or them, we never would have known about this. So I count our blessings that we were able to see what they did, and all I can say is, what a rush.
I second that, my friend. All right, so Bill, I'm going to turn you over to the Pharaoh. He's the star of the show. He's going to give you something called the Juice. He's going to inform our fans a little bit about you. Oy. Not that they don't know all about you already. And then we're gonna have a little fun, okay?
I've been having fun, so.
Shalom out there, all you video folks at home. I had to do that for Bill. Shalom, Bill. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not, wait.
What happened?
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and Happy New Year, of course, to all
thank you.
But keep this in mind, how religious I am. My first wife is Protestant.
Here we go.
I'll show you how religious I am.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the juice.
No, wait. I have to tell you the terrible joke now.
The terrible joke? Go ahead.
These two men were outside a Chinese restaurant wanting to know if there are any Chinese Jews. So they said, why don't we go in and we'll ask the waiter? So they sit down, they ask the waiter, are there Chinese Jews? Waiter said, I don't know, I'll go ask the boss. He comes back, he says, the boss says there's no Chinese Jews. Only orange juice, tomato juice, and pineapple juice.
Very good.
You brought up the Shalom stuff, so you. All right.
You had to call my segment the juice, huh, Mike?
There you go.
There you go.
The juice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Our esteemed guest this fine evening, William Stanley Apter, born October 22nd, 1945.
Wait a minute.
Did you get his birthday wrong?
Hold on.
No,
What's
William
wrong?
Stanley Apter? Nobody's called me that except if I was in trouble. William Stanley.
You're in trouble right now.
I'd send you to your room, but you're already there. Born October 22nd, 1945. Does that make you a Libra?
Wait. I am, but do you know where the Stanley part came from?
No, let's hear
Stanley
it.
Weston?
No, take a look at my face. Take a look at my face.
Oh, no. Very good, Stanley.
No way.
Well, it certainly was. And that's where it came from. It said my father was a big fan, and he didn't know what he was doing, and that's what he did.
But I don't want to marry him, Ollie. Why not, Stanley? Because I don't love him. Come on now.
They're my heroes. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead after that.
Let's go back to the reading of the Wikipedia.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, really. There you go. William Stanley Apter, born October 22nd, 1945. He's a Libra, folks.
What, are you going to just blast through it?
He's an American journalist.
To me.
I'm just repeating it, so I figured I'd go quickly.
Go ahead.
He's just an American journalist. It says here, and a photographer specializing in professional wrestling. This is off Wikipedia. Member of Obviously known for the wrestling magazines, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. It doesn't say it here, but I'm going to say it. Inside Wrestling and The Wrestler. These magazines often reported wrestling in kayfabe, of course, taking this stuff quite seriously. Apter was closely associated with these mags, as they were often known as Apter mags. Very interesting.
Really?
Dave Meltzer coined that, by the way.
Who did?
Dave Meltzer coined it, the Apter mags.
Oh, it was
Nice.
So Meltzer was behind that. Very interesting.
Yeah.
The influence of these publications in the days before cable television and the internet was such that Apter has been credited with launching the careers of many, many young wrestlers whom he featured. The resume stands as such: Luthez Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, 2012, the James C. Melby Award, 2015.
Hold on a minute. Wait. Hold on a minute.
Go ahead.
That was the same year. That was the same year that Animal was inducted into
really?
our class. I stood next to him for that. Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Did he have the makeup on or no?
He did not. He was in a suit jacket, and he was Joe at that point.
Very good. As we continue with this fine resume, we have the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame class of 2015. Was Animal at that one too? I figured I'd ask.
No.
Oh, okay. Just checking. Pittsburgh Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, class of 2017, and Wrestling Observer Newsletter. That's Meltzer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Class of 2018 Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, let me put it this way. Back in the early 80s, when I first met my partner, we could not wait for the stationery store to release the new wrestling magazines. We used to run up there to the wrestling magazines. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the great overseer of all those mags we've enjoyed so much growing up. The internet before the internet, Mr. Bill Apter.
All right, Bill.
Well, thank
There you
you.
go.
And I always say thank you. But I want to justify something.
Okay.
I was on the road most of the time, and I always say this when I come on shows, is that I was part of 5 or 6 great teams through the years that put those magazines out. The writers, the editors, the photographers, the art department. So I always get, Dave Meltzer called it the Apter mags because I was the guy on TV. I was the guy who marketed what we were doing because that's what I wanted to do. And so Dave Meltzer, when he said the Apter mags, I called him and I remember I said, it's not the Apter mags, it's Stanley Weston's magazines. And he said, but people know you from your TV appearances. So that's why he called them that. So I'm honored to have that tagged on me.
I got to go right for it right away. Were you behind Matt Brock? How dare you?
Absolutely not. No.
What was the story with Matt Brock? For those who don't know, growing up.
I'm going to tell you the truth. I never wrote anyone but me.
Okay.
I never ghost wrote anyone. I was never any of the other characters or anything. And there are 2 people that worked for us that people don't believe that they were real. One of them was Dan Shockett. He was our first heel reporter.
Yes.
Dan died at a very young age of cancer. Dan was a Long Island kid, too. He was from Oceanside. And Eddie Elner, who is still alive, and you can find him on Facebook. He took Dan's place after Dan's passing. And Eddie up until COVID time, he had a yoga studio in California, and he now does a lot of that stuff virtually, but fans can find him on Facebook. He's there.
So how did the whole Matt Brock thing come about? That was, for those folks who don't know, Matt Brock was an imaginary. I thought he was a real person. It turns out he wasn't.
How do you know he was imaginary?
That's the wild rumor I heard, that he wasn't a real person.
Well, that might be a rumor. I mean, unless you
he's
can.
got me.
Unless you can.
He's got me. Listen, this is torturing me. You're going to leave me hanging like this? All these years I thought Matt Brock was a real drunk. Give up. Oh, this is terrible.
Was he real, Bill, or was he not?
Well, I'm going to tell you something. There's a thing that Stu Sachs wrote online that gives the truth behind the wrestling magazines. I don't want to destroy anyone's growing up and childhood, so I don't talk about that.
Okay.
He's killing me.
I will tell you if you ask me questions about yes or no, maybe I can tell you that.
Here's a question I've been dying to ask you, right?
Oh, boy.
So in your book, Is Wrestling Fixed? I didn't know it was broken. There's a picture of you and your brother. So obviously 2 wrestling fans want to be tag team champions. What did your dad think about the whole deal?
My dad would back anything that I wanted to do. My dad was a letter carrier at the New York City Post Office down in the Garment District. My dad was a sandlot umpire. When I started getting into the business, my dad came with me because he was very proud of what I was becoming, and they let him come in with me. And my dad actually became very good friends. Pedro Morales used to call us maybe once or twice a month and say, "Baby, I like to talk to Daddy." And he would call and talk to my father all the time. My dad and my mother both were so proud of that I was getting into something that I was following for so many years as a kid. No, it was, yeah, my dad loved it. My dad, when my parents moved down to Florida to retire in West Palm Beach, I set my dad up with the Florida promotion through Eddie Graham to make sure my father sat at the timekeeper's table in West Palm Beach every Monday. And every Monday he would call me with wrestlers on the phone. All the wrestlers, they'd see me at the Garden the next month. "Hey, Bill, we saw your dad." It was great. It was wonderful. So, yeah.
That's incredible. How hard was it to get the wrestlers to accept you in the beginning? Was it something you had to sell to them, or was it they just realized that you were making them bigger than life?
Great question. It was difficult at the very beginning because there were a lot of stories that Mr. Weston fabricated. For example, like a life story of Bruno Sammartino. And when I first met Bruno said to me, "This story you had there about my sister like killing a Nazi when she was," and he was very upset. And then Gorilla Monsoon, who was a main person backstage, told me that he allowed one of Mr. Weston's photographers to come into his house and take pictures. And there was a lead shot in the story of Monsoon with a gun saying he wanted to shoot Bruno Sammartino. Well, the Sammartinos and the Monsoon family were very close friends, and Monsoon was furious. So Vince McMahon Sr. found out that I was coming in to do some stuff, not for the magazines. When I first started, I was doing a radio show in New York, WHBI 105.9 FM, and I bought time, and I did interviews. But when I started with the magazine, they found out I was working for Stanley Weston. Vince Sr. told me he and Stanley had some issues, but if I can prove myself and do what's right, he would let me into the show. So I did the very first magazine shoot interview with Bruno Sammartino. And at that point, Bruno endorsed me. And then the people that Mr. Weston was friends with, like Sam Muchnick, Al Costello from the original Fabulous Kangaroos, they started inviting me down to shows. And they never told me there were going to be title changes at that point. But they would bring me down there, and all of a sudden a title would change when I'm shooting pictures there. So I happened to be at the right place at the right time. Yeah, so Mr. Weston endorsed me to a lot of people, but little by little, I got the endorsements of the people in the dressing rooms. And then I became, second nature to me being back there. I was expected back there.
How different was it for you covering boxing compared to wrestling?
Totally different, because with wrestling, what a great question. With wrestling, you can shoot various matches of people and almost anticipate after years of shooting it what's going to happen. With boxing, you only have one chance of it. I shot many Muhammad Ali fights. He was one of my speed. I like your style, but your pay's so cheap, I won't be back for a while. But anyway, you got great speed, you got endurance. If you sign to fight me, increase your insurance. But shooting fights, you had one chance to get that one picture. And back in the days of shooting film, not digitally, sometimes I'd shoot, if a fight was 15 rounds, I'd do 2 rolls of film, changing film in the middle of a 3-minute round and just getting a million pictures, and sometimes maybe 5 of them would be used.
Bill, it's a strange question, but I'm going to try to get it out there. Let me see if I can word this correctly. Do you think the internet...
Hold on a sec.
Holding.
Matt, I'll be up in about 45 minutes. Matt Brock's call. I'll be up in about. I'm on the show right now.
Matt Brock.
Yeah.
He's calling in.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm busy.
He's
okay.
real.
I'm sorry.
He's
Your
real.
question?
So he is real. Is he drinking? Oh, never mind.
Now you're going back. Now you're talking about Israel. First you say shalom. Now, okay, anyway.
Oy. All right. Is the current younger generation, the current fan, the internet-raised wrestling fan, is he as, oh boy, this is going to sound strange, is he as educated as the wrestling fans that come from the generation pre-internet, like Mike and I, who ran to get all the magazines? I know that the information is out there in abundance today, but, like, for example, Road Warrior passing away, does today's generation, the internet-raised generation of wrestling fan, do they really fully get?
They know from their parents, their older brothers and their older sisters, but the WWE has done a good job with a lot of the icons of making sure that they're out there periodically, and a lot of the younger fans come to the conventions, which I miss terribly right now. And a lot of them come with their parents or their brothers and their sisters, or, I mean, I meet 8 or 9-year-old kids that know who all these people are. So yeah, a lot of the younger generation do know who these people are because of the wonderful thing that, like you're doing and I do on One Wrestling Video, is YouTube.
Is listening to the Pharaoh right now. The name of the book is Wrestling Fixed. I Didn't Know It Was Broken. I'm presently reading it right now. It's fantastic. The stories inside. And Bill, where can you get this book, Bill? I know, but I'm not telling.
I'm just reading this. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go to chapter 15. It's awesome.
Most bookstores have it. It's been out for 6 years. It's not self-published. It was published by ECW Press in Canada.
ECW.
Not that ECW.
Sorry.
Entertainment, Culture, and Writing is what ECW Press stands for. I can't believe I remember that. But you can get it at most bookstores. Most Barnes & Nobles have it. You can get it on Amazon or any great book dealer. But there's if you see the cover here, you'll see some of the things. Jim Cornette hated the book. Do you know why?
What? Why?
He said, I hate Bill Apter's book. He doesn't bury anyone.
Oh.
There's
nice
no
guy.
It's a fun story, and there's an Audible. If you go to Audible, it's on Audible as well, and I do the narration. I read the book, and a lot of my wrestling imitations are in it when I'm talking about a lot of these guys, because I do hundreds of wrestling voices. But there I am with the chairman, of course, Mr. McMahon, Triple H, Ric Flair, and Andy Kaufman, who was the biggest accomplishment of my career, a lot of people say. I'm the guy who introduced him to Jerry Lawler.
Well,
it's in here.
Well, we're gonna get into that. But first, I want to quickly just cover your new magazine, InsideTheRopesMagazine.com. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that's not my magazine, actually.
I didn't know it was broken.
Thank you. I was waiting for that. But this is how my book has gotten out there so much. I've marketed it everywhere. I have YouTube videos of wrestling personalities answering if wrestling's fixed. It's on my One Wrestling Video channel. But the magazine is a throwback to the old school wrestling magazines. It's the first new wrestling magazine in years. These guys are taking a big gamble on this. But I got my first copy of it in the mail 3 or 4 days ago, and it was so great to hold a wrestling magazine again. Now, for you people that want to order it and go to InsideTheRopesMagazine.com, you'll see it's all in brick.
Jimmy, I gotta take a dump. What? No, I mean I need a dumpster.
Well, for all those needs, you need to call Big V Dumpster Rental, Long Island, New York, 631-900-DUMP. The Monte and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah. Jeff Quest, graphics design, custom vinyl lettering, and all your art and video needs. 516-317-8204. That's for Jeff Quest, graphic design.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh, seen every Thursday, produced out of Indie Music TV in Ronkonkoma, New York. We're with our special guest icon, Mr. Bill Apter.
No way. Do you know what my favorite four-letter word is that starts with the letter F?
What's that?
Free.
Well, guess what? For being a guest on Monte The Pharaoh, you get a free bottle of that wine. So how's that?
Oh, that would be great. That sounds great.
There you go.
Right now, my drink, if you can see this, and I drink too much of this every day, is called sparkling ice. So for my birthday, if you guys want to send a case of that here on October 22nd, strawberry lemonade's my favorite flavor. I'll give you the address.
Sparkling
DM
ice.
me.
Strawberry lemonade. Love Matt Brock. Very good. Bill, I wanted to ask you about... You've obviously worked with the greatest promoters ever, Vince McMahon, Vern Gagne, Crockett, et cetera, et cetera. Could you compare a few of them for us? You know, like the difference between a Vince or a Vern?
Well, the Vern was very secretive. Vern knew that I knew the business, but I'd ask him a question about the business, and he'd go, "Oh, I don't know. I just have to go ask my son. Call Greg." And then Greg would tell me whatever I needed to know. Vince Sr. was a businessman. I never really asked him what was going to happen or what was going to go on. He was very nice to me, very businesslike. Jim Crockett was, he became a good friend. We became confidants of each other. And when the WWF banned all the wrestling magazines from their buildings because they had their own magazine, Jim Crockett said, "Hey, I'll help you guys out. I'll put you on my TV every week." And almost every week I was on his TBS show doing Pro Wrestling Illustrated scouting reports.
Yes.
Do you remember those?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Bill, how affected were the sales of PWI when Vince launched the WWF magazine, which, by the way, I thought absolutely sucked compared to yours? Go on.
Well, thank you. But not at all. It didn't hurt us at all.
Good.
We sent people, we bought pictures from press people. We sent people in the stands with long lenses. And we weren't, it's funny because we weren't selling posters in the magazines or anything. We were reporting news. Mm-hmm. And this is why I think nothing legally was ever challenged, because we were covering wrestling like Sports Illustrated would cover football or baseball or boxing or whatever.
How did you ever get angry about it? And did you guys meet and say, you know what, we're just not even going to cover the WWE?
We took world title recognition away from them for many, many years. But it didn't really affect anything. It was controversial. Fans wrote in back then that we were wrong. Some fans supported it. We made it more like a regional promotion, and we made like the NWA was a worldwide promotion.
So wasn't that always the mindset, though? I remember Mike and I as kids, we used to get really frustrated. We would read the ratings, the rankings in the back of the mag every month for the top 10 of the NWA, AWA, WWF, and we used to get pretty frustrated because a lot of the time Bob Backlund was not number one. We would see Nick Bockwinkel or who else, Mike?
Yeah, even back then, Backlund was like number 8 behind world title holders.
He would never.
And wait a minute. No, I take
he did make Wrestler of the Year in 1982. I do know that.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
See, what we did is all our rankings were in categories. So we rarely had we had a most hated and a most popular, and Backlund might have been at 9 there. But when he was champion, he was above number 1.
Correct.
And then, and I did the rankings for each of those magazines, because every week I was on the phone regularly with every wrestling office finding out what they were doing. And remember, there was a 3-month lag time from the
Yes.
time we put
Yes.
the magazine to bed to the time it hit the street.
Correct.
A lot of things changed. Yeah.
Correct. It's amazing the staying power of the magazine. Even though it was 2 or 3 months behind, we didn't care. We wanted to pick that issue up no matter what.
Thank you.
Even if the,
Oh my God! It was life. It was life. Every month was life. Bill, one of the great stories of professional wrestling that always interested us. Andy Kaufman, and I want you to take the story, but I'm just going to lead you into it. Andy Kaufman comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to get into wrestling females or wrestling in general," and you reach out to Vince Senior. How come Senior didn't want to go with the angle?
Well, first of all, let me explain to you what had happened. Andy was already wrestling women in his act, there in his nightclub act and his stage show. We were backstage at Madison Square Garden one night, and I had never met him. And he came over to me and he said, "Oh, you're Bill Apter. I read your magazine." He said, and we got to be friends. And then he told me that he spoke to Vince McMahon, and Vince didn't want any showbiz people. He wanted to keep his wrestling away from showbiz people, just wrestling to be pro wrestling. Even though Vince Jr. at one point had Andy down at ringside to do some promotional work. So he said to me, "What are you doing after the matches?" And I said, "I'm going back to my apartment in Queens." He said, "Well, how do you get there?" Now, keep in mind, he was one of the stars of Taxi, one of the most top-rated
great show.
comedy shows of all time. He was a major star
Yes.
of Taxi at Alaska. He said, "How do you get home?" I said, "I take the E-train." He said, "Can I go with you?" I said, "Sure." So here I am with Andy Kaufman on the train, and go up to my apartment in Briarwood, Queens. I was living with a wonderful girl wrestler by the name of Susan Sexton, the Australian champion. And we walk in, and every other word out of her mouth was the F-bomb. She says, "Hey, mate. Oh, F and Andy Kaufman, how you doing?" So we sat for hours talking about how he wanted to be Buddy Rogers or Fred Blassie. And after about an hour and a half, Suzanne just said, "I can't listen to this crap anymore." And she went in the bedroom, put on her headphones, the Ramones, Gabba Gabba, hey, and it was just gone for the night. So I said to Andy, I said, "I have a friend in Memphis, Tennessee, Jerry Lawley." He says, "Oh, yeah, I've seen him in the magazine." I said, "They're way ahead of the curve here. They have characters like Frankenstein, the Wolfman. You're Elvis imitate. You go over great there. Why don't we call him?" He says, "Well, it's 1:00 in the morning." I said, "We're wrestling people. We call all night." So I called Jerry Lawler, and he says, "You got Andy Kaufman, the guy from Taxi, in your roach-infested apartment in Briarwood." I said, "Yeah." And I put him on the phone, and as the cliche goes, the rest is history, and that's what put the key in the ignition. And a few days later, Andy was down in Memphis, and Jerry Lawler and Jerry Jarrett brilliantly set up that entire situation.
If Senior had gone for the idea, how do you think it would have worked out? And was there an argument between Junior and Senior? Because I could see Junior wanting this right away.
I don't know, but I do know that Junior did tell. By the way, I just noticed something, that my stool is blocking the aperture. My stool, right?
You said
okay.
you said stool.
I did. I said
Which stool?
was blocking the
Said
aperture.
stool.
Is it this butthead here? It's my stool.
Oh, that kind of stool. I'm sorry.
Oh, right. Okay. But Vince Jr. did tell Jerry Lawler at one point that that's the one thing that escaped him that he would have loved to have done. And back when they opened the Performance Center, I was talking with Triple H and Stephanie, who are two of the nicest and most gracious people I have ever met in my whole life, in or outside of the business. And neither of them, somehow, we were just talking about wrestling stories, and neither of them knew that they were like, "You're the one?" Yeah. There are a lot of people who don't know that. That's why before I go on any show, and I did this with your show too, I said, "You got to read my book," because 8 out of 9 of the podcasts and shows that I did when my book first came, and I mentioned, they were like, "Really? You guys knew it." So
Well, I'll tell you one thing that bothered me too. If I could go a little further, I love the story of Andy Kaufman. I actually think he was a genius. My wife would tell you otherwise.
Oh, he was a genius. Absolutely.
But that being said, Man on the Moon, I enjoyed, but I was disappointed that they did not have you in that movie. At least, at least how that whole introduction goes.
Well, he was kissing his girlfriend, and they said, where do you want to go for a hunt? Let's go to Memphis. Why? It's the wrestling capital of the world. That funeral also didn't happen in that thing. There was I forgot what network did a Jim Carrey special about Andy Kaufman, and
I think it was on Showtime, I believe.
Showtime, and there was a clip of me and Gordon Soley from wrestling's very first VHS tape ever, Lords of the Ring. Hey, King. And there was a clip of Gordon Soley and I talking about Andy Kaufman in there, and that was in that Jim Carrey piece.
Bill, does
So we got credit on that.
Does WrestleMania even happen without the Kaufman-Lawler thing? Because to me, the Kaufman-Lawler thing could very well be the beginning of the E in entertainment.
Yes, sports. First of all, thank you for saying Kaufman, because everybody I meet outside of New York goes, "Oh, you're the guy that set up Andy Kaufman, huh?" New Yorker, say it like a New Yorker. That was the first shot of sports entertainment in my estimation. And if you go to Fight TV 2 years ago at StarCast, Conrad Thompson let me do an interview with a tribute with Jerry Lawler and Dutch Mantel, a tribute to Andy Kaufman. And it's a really, really great interview. I came out with a neck brace refusing to do the show, saying that Lawler attacked me in the back.
That's beautiful.
You got to see it.
Where can you see this again?
Fight, F-I-T-E, Fight TV.
Okay.
Just look up Bill Apter, and it's on there.
Bill, fan Dale Champagne is asking, at what point in your career were you smartened up to the business between kayfabe and the work?
It's very hard to say, because when I was a fan, it was all real, as far as I was concerned. I think when I was in the hallways and just heard the guys kind of talking about their matches and stuff, nobody ever took me aside to smarten me up, except one guy in Boston, and he tragically died in a plane crash. Bobby Shane. I was at the Boston Garden, and he and I went to dinner afterwards at an Italian restaurant called Palcari's, and we were talking about something, and he said, well, yeah, you're only as good as your opponent. It takes two to tango. You can't do well in that ring unless you have someone to do it with. And little by little, I never asked anybody. Little by little, I just kind of picked it up myself. But I never I never brought that up or anything backstage. I always played backstage like what was going on was sports. When I have hundreds of interviews back from the 70s, still on cassette, and a lot of them digital, which I run periodically on onewrestlingvideo.com, and all the interviews are done in character because I covered pro wrestling like it was a sport. So I didn't look at it like it was a work, so to say. So I kind of knew it, but I didn't ask anybody about it. And sometimes wrestlers would just kind of tell me what was going to happen. So, yeah.
But were there any particular wrestlers that were hard to track down when you had to cover them for a story or to get a photo of them? Anybody that you used to dread going, oh, geez, he's a pain in the ass. I got to get this guy to sit still for a photo?
No, not really. Most guys wanted to be in the magazines. Most guys appreciated that I would approach them to be in the magazines. Sometimes because of their schedules, guys would not show up and not call. And then a week later, oh, crap, I was on the road. It was part of the business. But no, nobody really ever stood me up for long periods of time.
How about your relationship with the Von Erichs? Can you fill us in a little bit about the great Von Erich?
Oh, man, I became a member of the Von Erichs from what they, David was one of my best friends. Kerry came to my house several times. I still talk to Kevin once or twice a year. He's living in Hawaii. Um, there's a chapter in the book where Fritz wanted to practically kill me. Dan Shockett had written a column. He was our bad guy reporter. He had written a column likening Kevin, David, and Kerry to the Three Stooges. And David had died when that magazine came out. So there was no explain. So Gary Hart, who was one of the bookers there, called me and he says, "My man, Fritz does not want you anywhere. You're out of the family." And I went anyway because I needed to talk to him. It turns out that his wife calmed him down. Doris Atkinson calmed him down, and I made peace with him. But I was very close with all of the Von Erichs. Kevin's sons call me Uncle Bill.
Wow. That had to be hard to deal with, that total family tragedy.
It was terrible because David was actually the first death that I really encountered in the wrestling business of a young person who had so much promise. And Kerry, I was so close to Kerry. I mean, I'd talk with him once or twice a week on the phone. He was a wrestling fan as well. And yeah, I have somewhere in my archives, I have a video of him sitting on the couch in my old apartment at the Cameo Townhouses in Massapequa Park. My kids weren't home, and he told them, he said, "This is Uncle Kerry, and, don't take drugs, and don't do this and do that, and go to school and get good marks." And I still have that somewhere here.
Let me ask you, if you look back on your life now, Bill, do you find yourself totally blessed, or would you maybe have done something different?
No, I never would have done anything differently. I was offered a job by WWE to be editor of their magazine, but I was very loyal to Stanley Weston, the person who hired me. No, I started out wanting to be a broadcaster in pro wrestling, and the companies were all filled doing that. I wanted to be on TV and wrestling, and through the magazines, I remember Mr. Weston saying to me, "You want to be on TV and on the radio? I can help you do that." And he started sending me on these trips to Detroit and Toronto and Florida and Georgia and all that. And me being down there with a sport jacket and a tie and a nice shirt made it feel like this guy came all the way from New York City to be here. So this must be even more important than you think as a fan watching it out there. I'm going to tell you something. One of the big things that contributed to my success, major thing, is that when I went to the matches, people would go backstage in a shirt, and then I always went in with a sport jacket and a tie and a shirt, of course. And if you look the part, and I've instilled this in a lot of people who write on the internet, to put on a shirt and tie. When you go to the shows, you won't be viewed as, "Oh, he's another guy, internet geek." You'll be viewed differently. And they always come back to me and say, "What great advice that was."
Worked for the Beatles.
It is great advice. Bill, where can the fans get the Bill Apter experience? Tell me where they could find you on social media and all the projects you're going on.
I will do that. By the way, I want to, because of this whole COVID thing, when I do book signings, I'm not that guy that sits at the front of the store and signs it. Fans know that I do an hour-and-a-half show with videos and music, and it's a whole one-man variety show, what I do there. And I'm hoping after COVID I'll be able to get back on the road and entertain all of you again. It's all about the book. I'm at on Twitter. I'm at Apter One Wrestling. I'm on Facebook. You can contact me through my email, bapter@onewrestling.com. And please don't put an N in my last name like Dusty Rhodes did. There are people who still think my name is Willie Apner. You get on and go, "My baby Willie Apner over here, if you will. Oh, my baby is." And I stop saying that. But that's where you can find me. And please subscribe to www.onewrestlingvideo.com. That's our video channel. So everything I do in terms of video is there. And I have a lot of videos from down here in Apter's Alley. And maybe one time I can come back and give you a guided tour.
That'd be fantastic. Here's a question for you. We were at the big event, right? And again, we explained it. We're fans who started a show that got popular. We know we're not in the biz.
Right.
We love the biz.
Right.
But when we were at the big event at our table, Bill Apter walks up to us, and we have a conversation. We take some pictures. Me and Jimmy turn around and we go, holy shit.
I lost my
That is Bill Apter. Now, here's a question.
True.
For fans out there, does Bill Apter do any video shout-outs? Maybe they could reach out and say, hey, Bill, can you do a video shout-out?
Guess what? It's funny you brought that up. I was trying to get on Cameo, and I've got nearly 30,000 Twitter followers. And Cameo got back to me a few months ago and said, you don't have enough followers. So what I'm going to do...
Wow. Not so fast
Yeah,
out
so
there.
I'm going to start Willio. Willio instead of Cameo.
Okay.
But I'm going to, somewhere in the next few weeks, I'm going to make myself available to set up something where I will not only do a shout out, but a lot of fans know my other passion is music and singing. Karaoke. I sang professionally for many years, and I don't look at the words. I use them for backgrounds. But birthday wishes, for example, one fan tonight asked me, can I do a quick video with some music to his mother, who's a huge Barry Manilow fan.
Nice.
And I shot a video, and I did a little of, you know, I can't smile without you. Can't smile without you.
You're going to make me cry.
Yeah.
Stop.
No, well, you see, I also rap it, like I can't laugh and I can't sing. I'm
Don't
finding
do
it like
that.
freaking hard to do anything.
That'll make me cry,
All
too.
right. But I sent it, and he was totally knocked out. So, and I know there's a lot of people out there who I know there's a lot. Stop. I know there's a lot of people out there who have seen me entertain in my one-man show where I sing my way with about 50 different wrestling voices and have asked me, can we get personalized stuff? So follow me on my social media, and somewhere in the next few weeks, I will come out with something that will be affordable and fun. And I'm thinking of also doing a one-on-one or maybe a 10-on-1 personal Zoom chat once a week if there's enough people who want to do that.
That's a great idea. Once again, your InsideTheRopesMagazine.com is available, and then on Amazon or where books are sold is Wrestling Fixed. I didn't know it was broken. For Monte the Pharaoh, we'll be off next Thursday, but on Friday in studio, we've got Marty Jannetty, the FBI, Tommy Rich, and Tracy Smothers.
Nice.
And we finish off with Barry Horowitz, so it's an exciting Friday.
Hey, guys, before you leave, before you go, I have one other thing to say. You mentioned Tommy Rich.
Yeah.
Tommy Rich used to always come over to me in the dressing room. Hi, Bill Apter, when are you going to put me on the cover of that rag of yours?
You did.
Tommy, okay, we grew up WWE fans, so you know how it is, Bill, right? Yankees, Red Sox. So we were anti-NWA, we're anti-AWA. Right. We watched it, but we hated them.
Oh, we read about it.
And
then we watched it.
Being a Northeasterner, you grew up on San Martino. How hard was it to you to actually report on the NWA and AWA legitimately, because you would be a WWE fan? And just to mention Tommy Rich, we're huge fans of Tommy Rich. We remember when he won the NWA title, and it's a big mark in our lives. But how were you able to separate yourself? Because I imagine you were a WWF fan at that time.
No. I grew up watching Buddy Rogers and Bob Orton Sr., the grandfather, Mark Lewin and Don. So back then, everything was generic, and Buddy Rogers held the NWA title when I was a kid as well, and I was reading the magazines like Wrestling Review, so I was a fan of everything I could get my hands on, and I used to watch on Channel 41 UHF in New York, Canal 41, the NWA shows from the Olympic Auditorium. So I was a fan of everything wrestling. I wasn't just a fan of WWF. I was a fan of everything I saw on TV, even Bedlam from Boston. Yeah, which was on WOR back then.
Jimmy's going to hit you one last question, but I have one selfish question that I want to ask you.
Alrighty.
Who is the top 5 greatest wrestlers, meaning the total package, not just interview or not just a wrestler, just the top 5 greatest wrestlers in your mind?
I'm not going there because I hate to say that. No, I'll tell you why. Because it always ticks people off when I do that.
There's different generations too.
Yeah, there's a different one to me in every generation. There really is. And a lot of people want to know that the guy with the mask right behind me there, Mil Mascaris, real name Mel Moskowitz, by the way.
Moskowitz, oi.
Mel Moskowitz.
This mask is kosher.
By the way, any time I talk about my admiration for him as a wrestler, I get grief from every other wrestler. Well, he only did this. And then when I talk about Bruno, he's got his COVID thing going here. When I talk about Bruno, well, Bruno only kick and punch. There's too much controversy that comes out of when I answer questions like that, so I now avoid them.
Right. I understand.
Right.
All right, Pharaoh, one last question.
All righty, here we go, Bill. You are, to me, like Gordon Soley in many ways, the face of when wrestling was real, when it was reported as a sport, when it was real. And today's generation will never know what we know, how great that was. What was Bill Apter's emotions like, and how much was the magazine business affected the night of the curtain call? What was your thoughts when that was happening?
What didn't affect us at all. I mean, zero. It was. Keep in mind that the magazines were worldwide magazines. Okay, so that we were not press privileged back in those days.
Did it bother you as a fan that they did that?
It really didn't bother me. I mean, it bothered me for a little while. Okay, it pulled back the curtain. So did it bother Bill Apter a little bit? Yes, but enough to dissuade me from covering what they were doing. No, the one thing that got me was when Vince publicly announced that this is a show. That's that kind of that, because then I couldn't tell when people were asking me. I was like every other wrestler back then. Is this real or not? And I'd go, hey, what's the matter with you? This step, like all the wrestlers did. I protected the business when you're in the business. But when Vince said, well, this is a show, I was like, well, now that hurts. But it didn't affect the sales in the magazines, because people who bought the magazines were wrestling fans, and you could have told them how every match works, and they still wouldn't believe you.
Is today's magazine marketed more towards an AEW fan or a mainstream WWE fan? Last question.
The magazines?
Yeah, in general. Do you think they're more geared?
There's only 2 magazines at this point. There's PWI, and who I haven't been with in 20 some odd years, and the new Inside the Ropes. I think it's for I think I cannot speak for PWI. I know with Inside the Ropes, it's made for the old school wrestling fan and the young wrestling fan who wants to know what the feel of a wrestling magazine was like.
Wow.
Gotcha.
I hope I answered that correctly. I can't speak on behalf of PWI.
No, you answered it perfectly. The new magazine, does it have a centerfold like the old PWI?
It does not, but there's a cartoon in there. And unfortunately, my copy of it is upstairs, and I would love to show you the one cartoon that's in there. But it'll take too much time for me to go upstairs and get it for you. So there's no centerfold, but there's a cartoon on one of the news pages about a centerfold of me. So you have to see it in the magazine.
Well, I want to thank you for joining Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. You are an icon. This was incredible, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with us.
It was absolutely my pleasure. I would love to come back. Yeah, I had a good time, and can I do my sign off?
Absolutely.
We'll see you eventually at the matches.